Lauren Joffe and welcome to another episode of Derech Eretz. They say that children are the future. So then surely investing and taking care of children must be of the utmost importance. The Mitzvah School and Witzo's Wheelchairs of Hope project are doing exactly this. First up, Wendy Hendler tells us about what the Torah says about the responsibilities towards children.
Society has a poor track record when it comes to caring for the rights of children. In fact, in England, only in 1901 was the law changed to raise the age of child labour to 12. So until very recently, children were working from a very young age, often for a full day. Judaism, however, has a very different view of the rights of the child. Judaism prioritizes children's rights because children are our future. And more so than that, children are the most vulnerable members of society, totally dependent on us for their nurturing and their care. The Torah divides children's rights into 4 areas: physical, emotional, educational, and spiritual. Let's start with our children's physical rights. They have the right to be clothed, fed, and nurtured, and looked after physically in every way. Even brushing their teeth is considered to be a mitzvah, a Torah commandment. Then let's look at their educational needs. Children need to be educated to a high level, depending on their abilities. The Torah specifies that we have to teach our children a trade so that one day they can function as independent members of society. Let's look at their emotional and psychological needs. The Rambam specifies that we can never talk to children harshly. We have to treat them gently and kindly, and always look out for their emotional needs with great sensitivity. On a spiritual level, our greatest job as Jewish parents is to build our children's spiritual lives. And it's in the family where that is done most successfully, where children watch their parents living a Torah lifestyle, treating one another with honor and respect, and finding joy in the Torah practices and in carrying out the commandments. So children are taught from a very early age. Their first words, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe commanded us the Torah, and they are taught about the divine origin and transmission of the Torah. Before they go to sleep at night, they say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. They go to sleep with those words on their lips. And in this way, we guarantee that the Torah's lifestyle and practices will live on into the future through our children. As Jews, we can be proud of what we put into our children. In fact, every Jewish child has a Jewish mother saying, my child will be a doctor or a lawyer. We laugh at that, but we place great focus on our children's education and on their achievement one day as adults. We can be very proud of our view of the rights of the child and the way we put our children first. In this way, we produce healthy, vital children who will go on to be productive adults and bring the light of the Torah and of goodness and values into the world.
Today we're in the heart of sunny Durban to find out a little bit more about a very special project that is, of course, Wheelchairs of Hope, run by the one and only Witzo. We're going to find out more about a very specific special case about a sweet boy and his loving mother. We're ready to get going. Make sure that you stay tuned.
Witzo is the largest international volunteer women's organization. And to be represented in a tiny corner of Durban, South Africa, is interesting. It makes us part of a global network of powerful women that take care of the rights of women and children around the world. It connects us globally to just an amazing community.
The Wheelchairs of Hope project is Witso's passion project for giving to kids in need in South Africa. We are able to bring in these wonderful purpose-built for children wheelchairs that are made in Israel. So it's the link to Israel, and we're providing something that nobody else in South Africa is able to provide, which is means of transport, means of mobilization, and means of dignity for the children and their families.
The freedom of movement that it gives the children, that autonomy that it gives them in their little spiffy red Ferrari wheelchair or their green or blue, they are nothing like any other wheelchair. They are lightweight, the children can move them themselves, and they are literally the only wheelchair that I know of in the world that the children are able to move themselves and strengthen themselves and play in the playground and be cool.
Wheelchair bekunzima because kunzima mongaba umsa efees kuyanyanzeleka ukuthi meleke mekubanzima kakhulu nokuthi mangaba esendlini akakwazi ukuhlala uyakwazi ukuhlala embedeni kodwa kufanele uhlele usendlini ngoba uyakwazi ukwehla kanti mengabe ehleli la uyakwazi ukumbopha nabo ngahamba uyokha amanzi uzofike la mase embedeni yafika sehlikile selimene so wake walimala vele ke ehlikile embedeni ngoba i-wheelchair bengakabi nayo ke so eclinics ke basinikeza wheelchair kwacaca ukuthi ngokuya ekhula lezi wheelchair zabo zithambile like la hlala khona ziyashona so depende so iqhuba ayisakwazi ukumove ayisakwazi ukuqhubeka kahle so i-right le ngoba cause like i-wheelchair nje leya ilentoza nje ucaca ukuthi ngeyengane vele le iyabonakala ukuthi ngeyengane kodwa ingane seyikhulile.
The wheelchair handovers are always so emotional. On the one hand, we involve ourselves in a community that has so much need, and usually women with their children who have seen nothing but hardship in their lives. I don't think we could imagine what it is to be them. Our most heartfelt projects are those in rural communities where we have trundled those wheelchairs down a mountainside to an informal settlement at the bottom to give a wheelchair to a child who rarely leaves that, who lives there amongst the goats and the chickens with his grandmother, and you place him in that wheelchair. And the moments that are most amazing are when they start to move themselves in the wheelchair. We've had kids who, like, in 5 minutes, they are popping wheelies and they're like zooming down the dust. It's amazing. And you just know you have changed, firstly, that child's future. The child now has an opportunity to go to school and get an education, to play with his siblings and friends and do things that other kids are able to do. And the burden that it takes off his mother and his family, his extended family, that he can go places. To see that child just blossom with that pride and sense of self that everybody should have, everybody's right, that makes all the difference. Those are emotional moments.
Ukushiya umyalezo kwabanye omama ukuthi ufuna ungazitshela ukuthi anginayo ingane ngoba unengane ekhubazekile. Ufune ukuhlala usazi ukuthi njengoba uThixo ekuphile usuba efuna ukubona ukuthi ungumama onjani. So funeka uyinakekele ingane yakho, ungazitshela ukuthi anginayo ingane, uyazi ukuthi ingane yakho ikhona, nokuthi ungosabi ukushiya ebantwini ngengane yakho. Naba udibana nomuntu uthi hey uyazi banginengane nje mhlambe ulapho uzofike uthole usizo ngaphezulu kwakhona ke uba soyabona ukuthi hayi nami nginayo, uhlale naye ukhulume naye ukuthi ayikhuluma ingane kodwa iyakwazi ukunderstand ukuthi manje uma uthi nokuthi futhi ungatshela ukuthi ngoba nginengane nje ayizofunda. Zama uhluleke uzamile ukuthi ingane ihambe esikolweni mhlambe uma ngabe udibana nabantu batshela ukuthi ngenze njani ngifuna ingane yami yesikolweni futhi khona nomsebenzi wezandla ziyakwazi ukufunda ingane ungaze uhlale nayo ekhaya isikhathi eside ingasifumani isikolo ngoba nayo lisasalayo lelo leyo nto izoyenza ke nokuthi ke abazali funeka bazinakekele ingane umuntu ahlele nje ehleli nayo ingane yakhe ayikhombisa uthando angathi lezi ngane zi-right lena angayithandi ngoba yona hayi ngoba kahambi hayi angizoni ngoba mthane nje njengezinye izingane utshela ukuthi ingane iyaphila i-right.
Our expertise is the emotion that we pour into it, the effort and energy we pour into fundraising and finding recipients to the wheelchairs. But we don't have the expertise in the disabilities and the handicaps of the children. Every single child is unique and their needs are unique. So the chair has its limitations. It has a weight limitation and it also doesn't offer the kind of support a child who is unable to have upper body mobility and strength. It doesn't offer that. So the child has to be able to have a little bit of core strength, hold its own body weight up and be able to maneuver the chair itself. So because we don't have that expertise, we rely on the relationship with APC and other therapists and caregivers to understand more the relationship between the needs of the child and what the chair can offer.
A lot of our services are directed towards assisting people with physical disabilities, such as counseling skills to help them cope, support groups for caregivers, mothers, as well as the disabled person themselves. And then a big part of our work is access to resources, and that's how we have partnered with WIZO Wheelchairs for Hope.
The part that WIZO plays in the Wheelchairs of Hope project is they are designed and built in Israel. We raise the funds here to bring them to South Africa and find the recipients. So we fundraise, and when we have raised enough funds, we bring a shipment out from Israel and we distribute them around the country, and we are constantly looking for both donors and recipients. And to be able to marry the two of them is our pleasure.
The importance of taking care of children is paramount for a humane society. The children are the future, and if the children are not cared for, where are we as a people? And what also does it say about us as humane adults and communities if children are left uncared for? I mean, it's just fundamental.
WIZO's primary objective is to break the cycle and empower children and women to change their lives and make a different future. So if you imagine in the wheelchair project, a child who had no access to an education now has access to an education and their lives are changed forever. That is the whole ethos of WIZO, that we take children who are in a difficult situation and we change their lives, and they have access to a whole world that everybody else does. What can be more important than that? Nothing. The synergy between Derech Eretz and what the Wheelchair of Hope achieves in the child's life is it gives them autonomy over their own body. It gives them dignity. It gives them hope. It gives them freedom. It gives them the opportunity to participate in normal life like everybody else. And that's very empowering and very important. And we love what we do. It fills up our hearts and our souls to make a difference, to make a tangible difference in South Africa to the kids who are marginalized, who need us the most. And that's why we do it.
So today we're in the heart of Johannesburg, where there's a special place for education that goes by the name of the Mitzvah School. It's been running for almost 36 years, and today we're going to find out exactly what makes them so special. Are you guys feeling ready?
Yes! I was born in Johannesburg in Yeovil. I went to Benata Park School, and we lived in a very Jewish neighborhood, and I went with my Boba to shul every Shabbos on a Saturday for the Sabbath, and that's how I grew up. When I first lived in Sandton, there weren't any other nursery schools, so my children came to the nursery school at was then Temple David, and I used to do flowers with my friend Molly. And in 1976, Molly said to me, you know, the kids in Alex, and Alex is just down the road from here, are not able to go to school. They're being prevented from going to school because it's liberation before education. And we should give them a safe place to be able to write. And Molly was a teacher, an English teacher, and we asked the shul if we could possibly use the premises, and they said with pleasure. Please remember, that was in the dark days of apartheid, and to bring these black kids to the school was quite actually dangerous. So we started as an illegal school in the all-white suburb of Morningside. And the most important thing that we felt was that kids were leaving with a feeling of self-worth, that somebody really cared about them. And that was our mission. And after 7 years, Molly said, well, we're closing the school. I'm not a teacher, but I said, I think we've got a way to go. And then I said, I will keep the Mitzvah School open until the crisis in education is over. Well, look at the state of education now. It's never been worse. The kids really are struggling. They've had 2 years of being locked up, and the teachers are finding this year extremely difficult, as are the kids.
Knowing what Mitzvah actually means, it actually gives it that solid foundation, because this school is actually doing a good deed to Alex learners. It actually improves their lives. It allows them to explore different platforms. Their holistic wellness is improved. So yeah, it actually is. It's a good deed school. They're doing more good to the community.
Well, we were going to do a mitzvah. And what is a mitzvah? A mitzvah is a good deed or a commandment. And I say to the kids who come here, where you are now, it's a synagogue. A synagogue is the same as your church. But our synagogue is also a place of learning. The rabbi is like your priest, but he's not only a preacher, he's a teacher. And that's why you are here, and we are doing a good deed. You are at the good deed school.
At my story, I came from a very deep rural areas in KZN, in a small town called Kranskop. Then there was an opportunity when they said Mitzvah School is inviting top achieving learners to come and do their aptitude test so that they can do their matric at Mitzvah School. We wrote the aptitude test, and then I was told that yes, you've been accepted. Now you'll be doing a matric here at Mitzvah School. That's when I started telling my story that, look, I actually don't have the money. She said, but you know what? I want you here. Come, let's talk. I found a sponsor for you. You will learn and do your matric without paying a single cent. What a joy I had. That day changed my life completely. It was God's hand upon my life, and I said, only you, God, can do this.
Being a sponsor has been one of the most enriching, joyful experiences of my life, because you actually see the benefit in another human being's life, where they're going to be given opportunities that they would normally not have had, and you are literally increasing their sense of self-worth, and you're giving them that most precious of commodities, hope. Hope in themselves, hope for the future.
It's part of who we are, is to look after the other. And it's such an opportunity for us as privileged, white, Jewish people to be involved in a community that you really know nothing about. Your interaction is only with the lady behind the counter at the shop, or somebody who may work for you. You don't know them on a level where you're both mummies and you need to talk about the child. And that has been a very big part of the school and for the parents to be able to talk to the teachers, to know what's going on, to be part of their education. And it's part of our, I suppose, tikkun olam, healing the world, because we are in such a privileged position and able to share and to share our values.
Coming from Alexandra, I had nothing when I came here. My mom just knew she'll be able to pay maybe for up to 6 months, but going on, she didn't know what she'll pay my school fees with. So I got a sponsor. It was very interesting. That motivated me even to get higher marks, because comparing my marks from Alexandra with the ones I got here, they are very different. I remember my mathematics marks at the end of grade 11, it was 35%. And then when I matriculated here, it was 75%. So you can see that getting a sponsor actually made me to be even more serious with my schoolwork.
Getting to know the students on a personal level is a favorite moment of mine, because the school is small. You get to know their personal problems, of which there are many, socio-economic. Many of them we've had many orphans through here, to see those people develop and have a sense of well-being and self. When they haven't had that family background, this becomes a family for them. And that is very special for me.
Sometimes it's great to go to new places. It actually gives you that challenging strength to build up, see not just some difficulties that you're experiencing with yourself, see your failures, trying to fix it and be a better human being, be an imperfect version of yourself.
I'm more than proud of myself for actually matriculating so well, and then especially that I'm advanced. So I'm so proud of myself. And then I'm actually the first person to go to varsity, which is one of the things that actually make me to be more happier. Yeah.
Derech Eretz for Mitzvah School is for young people to leave here knowing that they're capable of doing far more than they ever thought, and being able to fulfill their potential in the real world outside of school.
Well, we've come to the end of the show for this week's episode of Derech Eretz. As always, we'd love to hear from you, so please send us a Facebook message at Derech Eretz Connect. From me, Lauren Jaffe, and the Derech Eretz team, have a beautiful week.